Today on the Dietary Restriction Kitchen, we're going to make a sweet treat using fall apples, and that is caramel apple upside down cake. Really delicious, and also a pretty good alternative to classic pumpkin pie in the fall. So I hope you stick around. It's going to be fun and absolutely delicious. So let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. I'm Nat Ryan. You know, it's into September, and quite deep into September. And once I get into September, I always think of apples. So I thought today, here at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen, we'd make something, a treat actually, with apples. And so what we're going to make today is a caramel apple upside down cake. Now, I've never baked this before. So this is going to be new for me, but I found this recipe online quite a while ago, and I've been dying to try it. So we're going to try it today here at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen, so stick around. It's going to be fun. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the ingredients. So obviously the first thing we're going to need is some apples. Actually, we only need 2 apples, and you can use whatever apples are your favorites. So at least 2 kind of medium-sized apples. We're going to need those. We're going to need some plant-based butter. So this is a dairy-free butter. I'm using this kind, and we want unsalted for this, so we're going to need some of that. We're going to need some brown sugar. It doesn't matter if it's dark brown or light brown. You decide. It's okay. We're going to need 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. So we're going to need those. We're going to need, of course, we're going to need some flour. So we're using a 1-to-1 flour blend that is gluten-free. So this is my favorite one. I love this one. So that's the one I use. We're going to need some oat milk, or any kind of dairy-free milk. I like to use oat milk, so we're going to use that. We're going to need some vanilla, pure vanilla extract. We're going to need some cinnamon and nutmeg. I just have mine in these containers, but it is cinnamon and nutmeg. We're going to need some salt, a little bit of salt, and white sugar as well on top of the brown sugar. I didn't bring it out, but we do need that. And some baking powder. So that is our ingredients. And so now we're going to get started on it. So the very first thing that we need to do is we need to cut up our apples. So I'm going to use a slightly bigger knife for this. So you can use any kind of apples that you like, whatever are your favorites. So I'm going to chop them in 4 like this. First off, I've got 2 bowls here. One, I'm going to put the stuff I don't need, because we're going to core these and peel them out, and then we're going to slice them. So I'm going to take a smaller knife here. I'm flicking apple seeds everywhere. I'm going to take a smaller knife. I'm going to just put that there, and then I'm just going to core this. Yeah, so I'm going to core all the pieces first. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay. And I may speed up this part of the video, because, once you see me do a couple of them, and I'm not, I'm no Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen, I'll tell you. I do things slow and deliberately, but, I'm not like, oh, yeah, chop, 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 chop. Okay, so then we're going to peel them out. So here I am going to peel these out. Yeah, I'm going to flick apple peels everywhere as well. So yeah, so it's not going to, you think, oh, I'm making something with apples, going to take an absolute ton of apples. It actually doesn't take that much, because really the apples become part of the topping in a way. Yeah, in a sense you've got, so we get the topping, the sort of caramel bit that we're going to be making in a minute. And then at that point, we're putting like the caramel topping in the pan that we're using, right, that we're going to bake it off in. Then we're going to put the sliced apples, arrange the sliced apples on top of that topping. So in the pan, the topping will be at the bottom. I know this sounds crazy, but we're going to invert it later, right? So this is the thing. And then we arrange our apple slices over the top on top of the topping. I know it sounds crazy. And then we're going to put that topping in the fridge, with the apples in the fridge, while we prepare the cake part of it. So, okay, so I finished doing that. Like I say, I'm no Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. You know, so your knife skills may be better than mine, and probably are. But anyway, that's something I would have liked to take a little course in knife stuff, but someday I will probably. Like just like one of those little Saturday courses or something. That'd be kind of fun. Because my knife skills are probably abysmal compared to some other people's. Okay. And you go, wow, you're getting so much off the... Okay. And always when you're doing something on camera, you're like, okay, now I look really ham-fisted. And, you know, you get self-conscious about it. Like, actually, I do sometimes get really self-conscious about things. Okay, so there's our peels and stuff. We'll put them in the garbage later. And we've got a seed. Okay, so then I'm going to take my other, and we're going to slice these up. So, slice up our apples. I'm going to drop them in the other bowl just so... You know, we got room on the board here to kind of slice up some more. So we like some thin slices, right? We want them fairly thin. We don't want them like really too hugely thick. So, you know, about like that. About like that. So, yeah, roundabout. We're not going to take a measuring tape or, you know, a ruler and just go, okay. But, so thin slices, comfortably thin, you know. You're not using a razor to get them super thin, but you get the idea. So, yeah. And at this point, really, it doesn't say anything about, in the recipe, about putting, like, lemon juice in this to keep the apple slices from browning. So, I'm not going to. I think once you have you're going to have things coated with, there's cinnamon in this, and I think the browning, you're going to have browning anyway, you know what I'm saying? And the cinnamon will make things brown. So there we go, we got our apples ready. So now we're going to get started on the stove making the topping. So that's that caramel topping. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so we need a small saucepan. Going to be on medium heat, but I've got it started quite high. First thing we're going to need to do is get out 6 tablespoons of that dairy-free butter. So I'm going to put that in. It's easy if you look at this, like if you got the sticks. That's why I recommend the sticks. So I don't know if you can see that, but you can see where the markings are, and they say 1 tablespoon, 2. So I just went right up and counted my 6. It leaves me with 2, okay, at the end. So there's the 2 that are left over. I'm just going to wrap them in that wax paper kind of wrapper. Okay, set that one aside. I need to wipe my hands a little bit. So what we're going to do is here, I'm going to just chop this in the pan a little bit. So I mean, we don't have one great big hunk of you know, dairy-free butter sitting in here. Okay, so yeah. So what we need to do, come on. Of course, it doesn't want to let me get at it because it's all slidey in there now. Melty and slidey and all that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn that down to the medium now because it's getting pretty hot. It's rolling around nicely. Now we're going to add brown sugar to that. Now, don't worry, the recipe, you'll find the recipe, the link for my recipe, which is on my Dietary Restriction Kitchen website. You'll find the link in the description below, so you don't have to worry. Oh my gosh, you know, I think I'm going to need something. Sorry about my reach there. I'm going to need a whisk, actually. Ooh, I'm flicking everything everywhere, which is totally me. Like normally, when I'm cooking in the kitchen, I have to put on an apron because I am messy. So we want to mix this up and whisk it, like, you know, so you can see that we want all the butter, I use the term butter loosely, okay, but we're going to mix that up till that butter is melted in there, okay. So we're going to do that over medium heat, and then we're going to whisk it occasionally till it's melted. Well, basically, okay, so you can see that it's melted now. And then we're going to cook it like this on the medium heat constantly for about a minute, okay, until it thickens. So we need to whisk that. And also, I think because we need that butter and that brown sugar to really combine, so that's not like, oh, the butter's sort of, you know, kind of floating on the top and on the edge of it. So we want it to be like, create like one thing, right, together. So we're going to do that. Okay, so as you can see, it's that way. We've got to whisk it constantly because we don't want that sugar to burn. Okay, as well, we don't want this to burn. So that's looking pretty good there. There we go. So then we're going to take it off the heat. So I'm just going to turn it off right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the cinnamon and the vanilla. So let me measure out my vanilla, because I haven't got that measured out yet. Just a little bit of vanilla and cinnamon on this part. The cake is going to have more of those things in it as well. So you got some cinnamon and vanilla in here, and you got cinnamon, vanilla, and nutmeg in the cake. So, you know, see what I mean? And then there's my cinnamon. I just put it in that. You know, so just because it's easier. Put that, whisk that in there. All right. See, and then that's whisked together. And then we're going to do the next part. So, okay, I'm going to take this off the heat to make sure it doesn't burn, and we'll get to the next part. Okay, so here's our topping, you know, that caramel that we made, like a quick caramel. We're going to pour it in our prepared pan. Now, this pan is not necessarily the kind of pan you normally use. Now, I had done some like spring cleaning a while back, and well, it turned out to be summer cleaning because it was into the summer, and I didn't realize until last night that I had thrown out my old pie tins and cake pans. So the only other pans I have left are sort of like the kind of cake pans where the bottom can come out of it. Well, if you do that, it's going to leak for this. So I'm going to do it in this sort of casserole dish, okay? Well, hopefully it works. I did grease up the side. Their recipe said not to grease the sides, but with me doing it in sort of a different pan, I thought I'd better. Okay, so we've got the topping in there, and then we're going to arrange our slices of apple in there. So we're going to try to make it pretty, okay? So we're going to arrange this, and we may have to, you know, and we're going to use all of these apples as much as we can. So we're going to try to make this look pretty when it comes out, right? So I'm just going to put them around like this. I'm trying to make like a pinwheel sort of deal with it. Kind of like that. This is not like, you know, making things pretty. I'm not, you know, I am probably the world's worst cake decorator. I think, yeah, I'm not really good at that part. I mean, that's not something where I shine at. Okay, I'm going to put some in the center here because we don't have any apple in the center. Okay, we're going to use all of these apples too, by the way. So, I mean, yes, definitely use all of your apple slices. So I'm going to put a couple more in the center there. We're going to sort of overlap. So where the gaps are in between it, I'm going to put like a slice, you know, kind of jam it in there, you know, kind of, yeah, so that we have apples everywhere. Does that make sense? Like apple pieces everywhere. So you kind of have another go of that. Now you're going, well, they're not going to get coated in the caramel stuff. And I'm like, well, I think they will, because that caramel stuff is going to seep right through the apples and stuff. So we've got that sort of like that, okay? So that's not bad. Look, see? So that's done. And then we're going to put this in the fridge while we prepare the cake. So, yeah, I'm not happy with that one. There we go. So we're going to put that in the fridge while we're preparing the cake. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is mix our dry ingredients in a bowl. So we got our flour. Okay, so that's like gluten-free 1-to-1 flour blend. Put that in. We've got baking powder, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg in here. So we're going to flick that in. We take a whisk and we whisk that all together. Okay. Oh, it smells nice already. Get that warmth of the cinnamon, that little bite from the nutmeg. Okay, that little almost pepperiness, but in a sweet way. Okay, so there we go. That's whisked together. We're going to set that aside. Okay, so let's set that bowl aside over there. We got this bowl. Okay, so we're going to need some more of that butter, okay, the dairy-free butter, and that's a whole stick because we need a half a cup, and we kind of needed it at room temperature. And as you can see, it's kind of getting soft because it's been out, and that's a good thing. We want to do that. We're going to need a hand mixer, or if you have a stand mixer, okay, you can use a stand mixer. So I'm left-handed, so we're gonna do this on, well, they say high, but I'm gonna have to do this started on low. So this is gonna get loud, and we're gonna get this creamy. So here we go. Okay, 1 second. So always with the spatula, it's a great thing to have. Okay, mind my fingers. You could use another knife. I do have a knife around here, don't I? Yes, I do. So I can do that. Okay, set that aside. Okay, so we're going to need to go a little higher than that. I just want to scrape that down a little bit. Scrape that into the center of the bowl again, as much as possible. Scrape it down in there, you know, into the bottom of my bowl, as it were. Sorry, I'm making noise. I make so much noise in the kitchen. Oh my gosh, me in home ec class, I was so noisy. Okay, so there we go for the butter. So you can see it's all kind of whipped up. Okay, so now we have to add sugars. We have 2 different kinds of sugar. We have the white sugar, okay, so half a cup of that. Anyway, the full ingredients will be on the website, all the instructions, all the amounts, everything. So we got 2 different kinds of sugar, brown sugar and white sugar. So we're going to put that in there. Yeah, and then I'm going to start it on low to get them mixed together, and then we're going to go on high. Hold on a second. So the whisk is a handy dandy thing to have, or not whisk, the spatula. I keep calling this a whisk too. You know what I mean. The rubber spatula or silicone spatula. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go again. Okay, we need to cream that together. So this is why I'm like, okay. Also with my spatula, I can feel it. Like, is it creamed together? I'm going to go again a little bit more longer there. It's about a minute total. But that's your mixing time, not my stopping to do. All right, I'm going to scrape down the sides again. Like that. Take that knife instead of my fingers, right? Probably, so I'm flicking on there. It's loud. I love making noise. Okay, so we're going to need some vanilla. How much is vanilla in here? Let me just check myself at this point. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to need a teaspoon out. I didn't have this already measured, but a teaspoon of vanilla goes in there. And our eggs. So I've had them out because we want them as close to room temperature as possible, but I didn't like leave out a couple eggs overnight. Again, I'm doing this in the wee hours of the morning. Right now it's just after 4:15, so 4:17 in the morning on a Saturday morning. Okay, so let me just wipe my hands really quick because I've got sort of egg goo on my hands. Okay, so Okay, as you can see, I need to scrape down that. Like I'm looking, I'm seeing like egg bits on the side, you know. So I'm gonna scrape that down. It starts to look a little bit more like cake batter now. Starting to look like that. Okay. Woo. Okay. Okay, I'm going to scrape down one more time and then mix it again one more time. I don't have a stand mixer. You can use a stand mixer if you have one. I wish I had one, but I don't right this present time. So yeah, it's kind of on my wish list, but it's one of those things like other things were more needful. So I have to kind of wait on that. Okay. All right, so there we go. You know me, actually I like doing the scraping down. I feel like if you need to pause frequently to do the scrape down, you do. That's, you know, no worries. I know you don't really see people doing that a lot. When they're making stuff, you don't see them stopping and scraping down, stopping and scraping down like I'm doing, but it's important. So now we need to put the dry ingredients, right, into our wet ingredients. So what I'm going to do, let's set that aside for a second. I'm going to just dump that in there, and you can use a whisk. We're going to do our, oh, I'm dripping. This is dripping everywhere. Okay, I'm going to use a whisk to start it and a whisk to finish it. So this is what I'm going to do. Sort of. It's going to get stuck in there. There we go. I think it's going to be quite thick, right? So yeah. I just don't want to get my mixer in there and it start to go poof, all the flour ingredients just poof right out of that. Okay, so as you can see, that's quite thick already. Sorry, my fingers. It's only going to be, for this particular cake, it's just going to be me and my family. I'm not serving it to, well, guests or anything, okay? Okay, again, I'm going to scrape this down. This is going to be quite thick, and we're going to make sure that we don't have flour sitting by itself at the bottom, you know what I mean? So we got to make sure of that. And yes, this cake batter isn't like a runny cake batter, like if you made something or used to make any from a commercial cake batter, you know, kit and all of that, you know, the one kind that you add your eggs and oil to, that sort of thing, maybe a little milk. It's not that, oh, speaking of that, I did not put the milk. Hey, that's what's wrong with this picture. Okay, I knew there was something. This is not quite right. Okay, so we're going to do this. And while this is going on. Okay, so. Yeah, I'm just doing this to make sure we don't want to overmix it, right? So that's, okay, so that's good. Stop. Okay, so now we're going to put it in the pan, or our prepared pan with the apples and the topping. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our cake batter on top of our prepared apples and topping. So let me just, I'm using my whisk. I'm going to just flick a bunch of that in there. Okay. Okay, hold on a second. I'm scraping up my bowl so I can be quiet. I'm concentrating. I'm like, I want to get this into the oven ASAP. But yeah, I'm going to get this all in there. There was that trusty knife I was using earlier. Okay. Okay, so that's good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of spread that over. Flick, okay. Spread that over and kind of, you know, make it as level as we can in here. Knowing that's going to rise a little bit and do its own thing in the pan anyway. Okay. So this is probably a little bit higher than, because my pan, is that 9 inches across? Probably not. So in a 9-inch across pan, I could measure it, but I don't think it is. No, it's probably maybe 7. So you're gonna, in a cake pan or a pie tin that's 9 inches across, you want something that's fairly deep. So like a 2-inch deep or whatever, pie pan or cake pan. You're gonna bake it off for 20 minutes. Take it out, tent the top over with some aluminum foil, and then bake for another 20 to 25 minutes. This may take me a little bit longer than that, but I'm going to come back in probably like 25 minutes and then tent it over. But 20 minutes, then take it out, tent it over, another 20 to 25 minutes is what you'll do in a 9-inch cake pan. So let me throw that in the oven. And then we play the waiting game for a while. Okay, so I've just taken it out after the 25 minutes. Yours would be 20. And it's very jiggly on the inside, I can tell that. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to tent some, this is going to be challenging because I'm going to try to do this with these on my hands. So I'm going to try to tent this over it a little bit. Oh my gosh, very challenging. Okay, hold on a second. Punch that in the center a little bit so it's tented. Okay, and we're going to put that back in the oven. For your pie pan, it would be another 20 to 25 minutes, but check it after 20. For me, I'm going to do definitely another 25 minutes and then check. Okay, so let's check on this. We get this off of here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Ooh, feels really, really soft on the top. For me, like, I'm just like, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm feeling like gush, but I don't know that I'm feeling gush for the top, like the top part. It is just in the, because that feels like for where the apples are. So let me just go again here. Yeah, I don't see that really being part of it. I think that's the apples. Like, I don't think that's the, yeah, so I think it's just about, I'm going to give it 5 more minutes just so I know, because I just felt a little bit like on the top here. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes in the oven, and then we're going to check it again, and we're going to, you know, then what we do, actually, I'll check it again, but then what you do is let it cool on a wire rack, you know, your cake pan, for just 15 minutes, and then you invert it on whatever serving platter you're going to use. But anyway, so I will do that, and we'll come back when we're going to put it on the plate or whatever serving platter, so that we'll come back for that. All right, now more moment of truth. Now, to be fair, I'm going to invert this cake onto this plate. I'm a little scared about this because I don't even know how this is going to turn out, and always the inversion part is always a little bit scary. You can do it this way and then invert. So this is just really like, you know, hold the plate and then do that, but it's hard. This is pretty heavy. So I think we're going to have to go really quickly. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, that didn't turn out too bad at all. Look at that. Now, hey, that didn't turn out bad at all. We've got a couple of my apples that kind of stuck to the bottom here a little bit. But holy moly cannoli, that didn't turn out bad at all. Look at that. I'm just going to stick them back on here on the edge. But yeah, that didn't turn out badly. And that came off nice. Oh. Ooh, that's tasty. Sorry. But there you go. So there it is now. What you got to do is cool it. Sorry, I'm going to put that like that. You're going to cool it until it's room temperature and then cut it. If you cut it too soon, it's going to be ooze and it's going to be everywhere, right? So this actually is about 7.5 inches wide, which is not, you want it to be 9, okay? So you would use a 9-inch pie plate or a cake pan. Try to get one that has a 2-inch side at least, okay, because you don't want an overflow. But that's it. Oh, there was my timer just to tell me when to try to invert this. But I did it, of course, in this pan and in this thing because I didn't have a proper cake or pie plate. But look at that. That doesn't look bad at all, hey? So, yeah. So just give it, we're going to do that. We're going to give it a try later. I'm going to have to let that cool for some time before I do that. But yes, and what you do is that you can just put a cover over it or, you know, tint it without, you know, like tint something over it if you want. But what you need to do is let that get to room temperature because it's pretty warm now. You could eat it warm. It's not like it's inevitable at being warm, but you cut into that now and it's just going to make a mess. Like it's not going to hold together. So we're going to wait a bit, even though it's like smells wonderful, looks good, smells wonderful. My goodness, that caramel-ish. It's like, ooh, I cannot wait to dig in. So we will see in a little bit. But that actually turned out pretty well. Okay, so let's give the cake a try. It's been a little bit of time. Now you can see it's not dark outside. It's a little bit light. So it's like 20 to 8 in the morning because you got to let the cake cool quite a lot. So we're going to give it a try. I cut a piece and as you can see, it's moist. It's got a good crumb on the inside. Of course, it's going to be moister here at the top, which was your bottom of the pan, right? Where that caramel was and the apples. So let's give that a try though. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Very cinnamony, brown sugar cinnamony. Oh, nice. Very moist. You know, the thing I find with a lot of cakes or a lot of quick bread and cakes and things like that, sometimes they go dry. This is not dry in the least. That topping and the apples add that moisture coming down in through the cake, like, you know what I mean? And so, really nice. Could work really well with a dollop of like cocoa whip, you know, so a dairy-free topping, or a spoon of dairy-free ice cream on the side, vanilla dairy-free ice cream. Beautiful with that. I think that would be a good alternative to having pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. Or you could make one of these pretty easily. Make it up ahead, have it, you know, cooling, and serve it out room temperature like this, and have a pie. So let's say if you are hosting a big dinner for Thanksgiving, you're hosting a lot of people, like the whole family, and like one pie isn't going to do it. Well, you might end up having, okay, we have a pie or two, right? And we have a cake. We have this cake as well. That would be great to have the both. That would really work out well too. So I hope you give it a try. It's really yummy, and I've never made it before. I've never made it, and I had to make it in that casserole dish, remember? Which was a little bit different too. But wow, that's nice. Now yours, if you do it in a regular pie tin, like a 2-inch deep pie tin or cake pan, it's not going to be quite as high as mine. It's going to be a little shorter, but still, that is really scrummy, really good. I mean, definitely going to be doing this again, and I may even be doing it for our Thanksgiving dinner. So thanks for stopping by today and joining me here at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. We'll see you next time. Happy cooking and baking, everyone. Bye for now.